Welcome to Catch Her Spark with Jen Maldonado. These are conversations with women who are building meaningful careers, stepping into leadership, and designing life on their own.
There is a version of success that I would say looks fine on the outside. You know, you're showing up, you're doing what you're supposed to do, but internally sometimes something feels heavy, unresolved, and most people don't have the space to actually look at that. And today conversation is with Cyndi Collen, a holistic therapist who has spent years working with people not at the surface level, but at the level most of us will avoid, right? We're talking about patterns, emotional wounds, and the things we carry without realizing. And I think that she has an amazing story. And one of the things I want to point out as we approach to meet her is that what has stood out for me about Cyndi is that she doesn't approach healing like something you need to fix. She approaches like something to understand without labels, without judgment. And she comes from a place that she has overcome a lot of challenges in life and she has been willing to pivot. So this is a conversation about what actually takes to feel seen, to pivot, and to go through different processes that allow us to heal and to slowly remove the layers that were never really ours to begin with. So I want to welcome you, Cyndi. How are you today?
Oh, good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, I mean, why not? It's amazing. I mean, when you share your story, we get to know you. I just was blown away, and I think that the audience will appreciate getting to know you too, Cyndi. Let's start with what you do specifically right now, and then we're going to dig into the real good, deep stuff from Cyndi. So tell us what you do.
All right. So I do many things. I wear several different hats. Let's say the most fulfilling piece that I do is I'm a psychotherapist. A holistic therapist, which means I work one-to-one with people. I also facilitate therapy groups. And I do that really amazing work. Like what you said, I get to hold people in their suffering and kind of go backwards and resolve some wounds and experiences that are held. So that's the really fun part of my job. But I also own a group practice called Flourish Holistic Mental Wellness. And we see people in person where we'd like to have the brick and mortar, the in-person stuff rather than just telehealth. And I also founded and run a nonprofit called the Mindful Wellness Center of Austin, which does affordable mindfulness-based counseling. So with these several hats that I wear, the common piece in there is the mindfulness-based practices, both as a person and a therapist and as a business owner and leader.
Wow. That's a lot, Cyndi.
It is.
It is. And I mean, you're managing many people's challenges. And we were talking a little bit, what does it take, right, to go from one person to the other one and be fully present. And I think that's one of the magical things that you share with me. Sometimes, right, when people come to you, sometimes what do you feel they're actually carrying that they don't yet have words for it?
You pretty much said the thing, actually. So many, I mean, me included, right? I didn't know how much I was carrying around. And I like to say that we can have some experiences and some real feelings about, or, emotions that get provoked when we have a certain experience. And a lot of times they get shoved into a dungeon. And I say the body is wise when we do not have the capacity to really be with some of the crappy stuff that we're feeling. The body's wise, hides it until you're ready. And that ready could look like, like what you were saying, going through the layers of things. You could be ready because you're not alone in it and you found someone like a therapist that the body picks up safety with. The body knows, oh, I have an empathetic, compassionate person sitting very close to me. And some of those experiences and emotions start to come out of the dungeon, right? So we are such wonderfully complex creatures that I'm not a fan of diagnoses because this is why I say I'm a holistic therapist, because I'm not looking at somebody through a label and through criteria in a book, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, because that book really is just meant to cover anything that you're experiencing, and then there's a drug that can go alongside a diagnosis. So when we put a label and a diagnosis aside and we're just with what people are experiencing, it takes some time to kind of comb through, get context, and see what's happening. And then they kind of move through what they've been holding. We integrate it into them, into who they are, and they get to the other side. And it's a wonderful experience to see people not identify as a mental health diagnosis, to be able to get off of psychiatric medication, to feel, that they have vitality and energy and a clear head, and that they can actually deal with stressors. I mean, that's the bottom line. We have so many stressors in our modern life. It's really hard to cope. And especially we're polluted with toxins coming from us from everywhere, and that very much impacts our ability to cope as well. I mean, we're interconnected. The brain isn't separate, and feelings aren't separate. We have interconnected and interdependent systems within us that all hold us throughout as we move through, our complicated day.
Yes. Oh my God. My brain is going like to 20 directions right now because there's so much I want to ask you. And one of the things that I want to start with is that's still on my head is the fact that you mentioned that things get in the dungeon. And you have experiences that get you to the dungeon. What about if you share, and I don't know if this has anything to deal with this, Cyndi, but how do you end in your line of work and coming out of that dungeon lead you to what you do today?
Well, I say that the emotions go into an internal dungeon to be shoved away and dealt with later. My own experience, I mean, I've been wanting to be a therapist ever since I was 21, but I was smart enough back then to know that I do not have enough capacity to really cope with the folks I was working with. I was an undergraduate social work student working with teenagers, and I loved it, but it was really hard. Really hard. So I kind of put that on the back burner and said, after my son graduates, I can revisit becoming a therapist. And along the way, I had an experience on September 11th that I was in the World Trade Center, thought I was going to die a couple of times, inhaled the let's say, I don't want to say the toxins or the debris from the towers falling, and I got really sick after that, and it didn't get better. So I fell apart both physically and I don't want to say emotionally as much. I didn't fall apart, but the emotional piece was I had enormous high amounts of anxiety and intractable insomnia. And over the years, I would hear I was sympathetic dominant, which meant I was constantly in fight or flight. And so it was my journey to get to heal, or let's say go into remission from all of the inflammatory things that were happening within me. I discovered that when I go outside of conventional medicine and I get off of any medications that I was on, and I focus on some basics for myself, what to, how to get into a good sleep routine, making my own food, the importance of good clean water that we have to do, moving your body, doing breath work and meditation, and it's a lot of work, but gosh, I put myself into remission. So I'm not cured by any means. I have some flare-ups every now and then, but I accept them. I ride them out. But I'm in a much better space, and that's what I hope other folks can be with. And so now that I have the capacity, because I have a lot of endurance and resilience on board. So now if I have an interaction with somebody that is not pleasant, I am not shoving those crappy emotions into a dungeon. I'm able to be with it in the here and now, which means I am not carrying a lot of stuff from like yesterday or last week along with me. So you end up feeling a little lighter, let's say. You tend to have some grace during times of crisis and stress when you have someone help you release what you're holding in the dungeon, because you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it by reading a book. It's there for a reason. It's there. You're looking for someone to join you in it. That we're made to be in relationship with others. We're made to operate our best when we are in relationship with others. And that's what I mean by the dungeon, right? The dungeon's just waiting for you to get someone to hear you, see you, really empathize with you, and not judge you.
Yes, I love it. I mean, so many people suppress that feeling, to your point, until it's ready to come out. And in today's environment, there are so many toxins, stressors, contamination that is impacting us in so many ways. And you have gone through these healing process. You have take the traditional way and it didn't work. And you decide, no, I need to go into the really full healing process. And many people are not aware of that. How does the body start to communicate what the mind has been trying to suppress?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to get a little clinical, right?
Yes,
So,
let's do it.
I think of the body and the mind as one whole system and not separate. And so when I think about the way that experiences and emotions are stored and kind of put aside, a dungeon is one way that I try to, articulate. There's some really awful things in there that we don't want to feel. And so there are a lot of times, we might want to numb from feeling, because even though they're in a dungeon, some of these crappy emotions and experiences, they're like knock on the door. Please hear me. Please hear me. Right. But I also think about it that we are wired to survive. And the body is compassionate also in that survival wiring. So what I think about is it gets not necessarily suppressed because that's a conscious thing. Again, the body's why. Say, you can't cope with this, let me put it over here. But it's also in a part of our system, like in the limbic system part, right, of our brain, let's say, network. It's there to remind us that, if something like that is happening here, we get warning signs, right? Which is we could get shut down because it's too much, and we're aware because what we're experiencing in the present moment is lighting up other things that happened in the past that are in the dungeon. So it can be really intense. So people might withdraw from other people, shut down, drink a lot, or do some drugs. Or the other piece, which is you can get really panicky and overwhelmed and anxious because that's the warning sign. Like, hey, there's danger coming, similar to what happened a long time ago. You better watch out, right? So I call them like whispers or knocks on the door. You are literally also getting somatic signals, like if you're feeling panicked and overwhelmed, of course your heart is racing. Your thoughts can go into catastrophic thinking. Your body, your muscles can get contracted, that sympathetic nervous system. So if we're somatically aware, that's the messages that the body is sending us, like, hey, we're holding something. We're holding something. Something got woken up from a long time ago. Look for some help. And look for some help means, social engagement, make eye contact with people. Texting is not going to do that, right? Just ranting or venting to someone, it maybe can release some of it, but it's not going to help you to resolve it, right? You really want someone to hear you, getting a hug, someone holding your hand, putting a hand on your shoulder, obviously consensually. If you're on your own, we can try to do some breath work to kind of calm that reaction that we've had. So these little signals, when have some mindfulness, you can pay attention to what you're shoving in the dungeon or what's getting ready to come out or what warnings you're getting from past held experiencing. Oh no, something not great may be on the horizon.
Wow. So these signals pretty much are telling you, watch out. There's something that you are suppressing that needs to come out. Please let it come out.
And then what I think about that, it's like what I think about is so many people want that feeling to go away. They want to take a drug. If you think about what some SSRIs and or even some anxiolytics like a Xanax or Klonopin or something like that. But if we just thank you, grateful body, for telling me to look out over here, and I do some breath work, or maybe I FaceTime, a close friend to just say, hey, hold me in this moment for a while, then it will go away. Then we don't need the medication, because there is going to be a moment, and I know what that moment's like, to where you want your danger detection system to really tell you there's danger there. You don't want to suppress that. To me, being grateful for that is key.
Yes, for sure. I mean, and so many people have different coping mechanisms, and to your point, it's like everyone is trying to put a band-aid on it, but it takes a lot of work. You also have experienced that on healing from traumas, stressors, and all of that. I mean, it's an entire holistic process, right? It's not a one thing. It's a process, and I think that one of the biggest challenges for people is they're so focused just on the outcome that they don't understand it's a journey of healing. And
I understand that, because they're suffering in it. You don't feel it does. It feels awful to feel, constant panic or worry and not be able to sleep, or feeling, I want to say, even like shut down or disconnected from other people. Right. I mean, it's not pleasant at all. I can understand that you want to feel better, but at the same time, there's signals, there are messages being sent to you, and your body is hoping you start to put the pieces together of what's going on.
yes, for sure. And to your point, like it's the willingness to go and explore and invite to go deeper to really help heal. And embrace that journey. Be thankful, because I think that inside of every challenge we have in life, there's always a gift that we might be missing.
Yeah.
Yes. I do have a question. I work with a lot of high functioning people, high performing women, executive leaders, business entrepreneurs, and other women like that. And do you think that high functioning people are actually more at risk, maybe because they have learned how to operate without being fully okay, or better coping mechanisms? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that maybe they are more at risk than someone else, but there's definitely risks, because, when you're driven and you want to achieve, that's someone like me. I'm just driven to do work, to help others. It feels really fulfilling. We can do that in a way that we're just getting through the survival and pushing aside the little warning signs that we're getting that something's not right. And I know I did that for too long. Part of the reason why I fell apart is because I ignored the signals from a long time ago. And so there's a balance, right? When to pay attention, when to push it aside. And I feel for those, because if you go to the wrong, let's say, to the wrong practitioners that don't recognize this underlying, I want to say, wounds that are there that are not going away, then they can really kick your ass later if we don't pay attention and we just push through. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Um, you mentioned something like pushing through, and sometimes pushing through take you to different places. Have there been a moment in your work where a client's experience change how you understand the human condition, like the push through kind of thing?
Yeah. Not exactly like the push through, because people are just remarkable, miraculous. Like, I have just seen so much, I want to say, beauty in the work, even though some of it is so painful. But to see, the reason why I call my practice Flourish is because I get to see people really blossom, really go through the crappy stuff and come out much stronger and lighter also at the same time. But at the same time, the push through, what I'm talking about more is being able to maybe have know your sense of purpose, what's driving you, and to be able to notice when it's time to not do everything by yourself. Right. To me, that's the piece about the push through, because so the biggest thing that I learned, because I do group therapy too. So I have individual clients and I have 3 different groups. And I always say that what I see happen in group, I can't do on my own. And I've seen miracles happen in group, to where someone has an experience that was really awful from so long ago, hidden in a dungeon, completely forgotten about it. But the more that they're in group, the more that they feel heard and seen by multiple people, not just me, right? All of a sudden, I'll have somebody come out with an experience that they were like, I don't know why I'm saying that right now, and cry and share and go, I had even forgotten that was in there, or I thought I was over that, but apparently I'm not. And that happened because they were being held by others, not just me. And so that's why when I know women, I know that we do so much. We put everybody else ahead of us. Some of us have a hard time asking for help, noticing that we need help. But to me, if you really want to be successful in a sustainable way, you need to be able to reach out and connect, and also be held in a community as well. That will help you get through some of the crappy stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Community, especially for women, I have found that create a very healing environment where we feel supported. We learn how to ask for help, especially when we feel safe. And
Exactly. Yeah, that feeling of safety is not conscious. So, like the body, the autonomic nervous system is looking constantly for signals of safety or actually signals of a perceived threat, and that happens from our external environment and also internal, because the body's also looking for a threat, a perceived threat, like in your intestinal tract. That's your enteric nervous system, which is why anytime somebody has anxiety, I will always ask on the intake, what are you here to see me for? What are we doing? I will always ask, what's your digestion like? Do you feel bloated or farty after you eat? How many times do you move your bowels? And of course, people don't like to answer these questions, but but it helps me to understand, like, is there some digestive challenges happening that are creating more anxiety than what would be there maybe from other factors?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And apparently there's like different type of stressors produce different tensions and different points of the body, correct?
I don't see it that way.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I like to read sometimes and I might be wrong, but I was noticing like certain stressors impact people in different areas, stomach, lower back, and things like that. But okay, that's
Yeah, I mean, it can show. I don't think that there's like a one size fits all, that this stressor affects everybody in their lower back. And, the somatic piece is so interesting because you can have someone who, when they were a child, was maybe held by the shoulders and shook, like kind of scared by either a parent or, just a big person. And that person, 20 years later can have a lot of shoulder pain. And not necessarily from an injury from being shaken, but that experience is held in there. And I actually referred to like some other doctors here in town, and we go back and forth. Like they show up with a somatic, pain in their shoulder, in their hip, and come to me, and we go back and forth because we both can help to get it out.
Wow. I mean, you also combine that support from different professionals
Yeah.
holistically to resolve.
Yes, I say it takes more than one of us to get somebody where they want to go, where they need to go. It really takes a village for people to be held throughout their healing journey.
Yes, definitely. And it's just an entire, it's so many things are changing today. The healing process, how we're looking at health, mental health, physical health, in so many ways. And to your point, this is not a one person thing, it's a community support, right? Even the people that you surround yourself helps you heal. I love that. I love that. And Cyndi, I want to ask you something because I know that one of the biggest stressors today in society is also the economical side. And for women who are, some of the high performing women, they're incredible, successful in their careers or business, but that success usually come with long hours of work and a lot of responsibility, right? Some of them start thinking about the future and how they want to keep maybe the same level of income or higher level of income, but not work so hard for it, right? And some of them, their solution is start investing, creating different levels, creating a different type of income, and then the work that they do, like investing in stocks, bonds, or getting financial planners, real estate. What are your thoughts about creating income outside of work, especially to reduce those stressors?
You mean for me as a business owner? Well,
Yes.
for me as a business owner, I guess you could say I'm also a landlord. When I wanted to open up my business in 2018, or actually I'd looked at it in 2017, knowing I was going to open it in 2018, I did not want to pay someone rent for office. I wanted to pay myself the rent. So I did. I bought my own office space, and it was much bigger than what I needed. So I rented out some space. Therapists sometimes don't need the space 7 days a week. So that was a really good plan until 2020. until,
A lot of things changed.
Yeah, a lot of things changed. So, but I was but because I own it, I'm a compassionate landlord. And when things were hard, I didn't have to, pay big rent when things were a little tight in that year or two. But then things, are now better, and now we use the office more. I think that having some properties but I'm okay to be a property manager. I don't hire somebody to do that. I do little things. I know the right, handyman or plumber or carpenter to call to do this or that, right? So it's hands-on work right? When you own a property and you're also that's my little side business. But again, I enjoy it, and the way to make the money is not to give so much to folks to do it for you.
Good tip. Good tip. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's amazing what can we do when we start, reducing the stressors, including that side of it. Now, we're getting to the end, and I have like 100 questions, but I want to ask two more. One of them is we were talking about the office. So when someone leaves your work, what do you hope they now understand about themselves that they did not before?
Oh, that's exactly what I want for them. I want them to understand. Let me pull that back. I want them to have compassion for themselves. I want them to have compassion that some of their experiences were not ideal. We hopefully have them not blaming, I do a lot of work with attachment theory, which I love, but we don't blame parents, because they did the best they could, even though there are some interactions we can have with our parents or our primary caregivers when we're younger, and it really impacts us in a negative way. Right. But, so you just I want my people to be able to make sense of how they feel as in response to many of the, let's say, nurture or lack of nurturing interactions they've had over their lifetime, to be able to have compassion and grace for that, knowing that they're also not alone. There are many people suffering too, and that we're doing the best we can to cope with what is the human condition, right? If you want to feel great joy and happiness and love, we also need to experience the other sides of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. So, Cyndi, if people want to get hold of you or connect with you, what's the best way?
The best way is to go to my website, which is Flourish Holistic Mental Wellness is the name. Our URL is flourishholisticwellness.com. We're on Instagram at Flourish in Austin. And that's probably the best ways.
Awesome. Well, Cyndi, thank you so much for being open, sharing your story with all of our audience, and your insights too, your little nuggets on how to manage some of those stressors. So thank you again for being with us today.
Oh, you're welcome, Jen. It was a pleasure being here, and thanks for all you do for our community. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Catch Your Spark with Jen Maldonado, where bold women lead the way. Ready to share your spark? Apply to be a guest at catchherspark.com/guest.